The room had been prepared with the precision of a sacred ritual. Yet Remy Ma stood frozen at the threshold, hands trembling as if the weight of years pressed down at once. It was supposed to be her birthday, a day to celebrate, to breathe. But instead, something in the air made her chest tighten. She wasn't prepared for what was waiting behind that final door, and she absolutely wasn't prepared for the two people standing inside, ready to unravel her world in ways she never saw coming. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Remy had grown used to building armor around her heart. Fame teaches you that. Life reinforces it. And the internet? Well, that sharpens every edge. Even on her best days, she carried old battles in her bones, ones that had carved her, bruised her, and forced her to rise again and again when the world expected her to fall. But today felt different. The lights were dimmer, the shadows longer, as if the universe was holding its breath. She took a step forward, then another, her heels soft against the polished floor. The quiet murmurs of the gathered crowd rippled like a low tide. Something about their faces, the mixture of anticipation and tenderness, made her uneasy. She caught sight of Papoose near the center of the room, hands clasped, looking like a man holding a secret powerful enough to rearrange a life. And then, standing beside him, dressed in athletic poise and an unmistakable glow, was Claressa Shields, the undefeated champion, the fighter whose fists carried nations of pride, and whose presence alone could silence chaos. Remy blinked, confused. The two of them never appeared together unless something monumental was at stake. Her heartbeat quickened. She knew something was coming. She just didn't know whether it would heal her or break her open. The scent of warmed candles drifted through the air, soft vanilla, mingling with something deeper, like sandalwood touched by fire. She could hear her own breath, shaky, uneven. Even the dust in the sunbeams seemed to pause mid-air, suspended like tiny witnesses unsure of how the next moment would unfold. Papoose stepped forward first, the warmth in his eyes gentle but anchored with a seriousness she rarely saw in him. He wasn't just her partner. He was her steady place in a world that spun too fast. Yet tonight even he looked nervous. "Rem," he whispered, though everyone could hear it. "You've carried so much for so long, and you've held the world up even when it didn't hold you back." His voice softened. "Tonight, it's time somebody holds you." The crowd murmured, a wave of soft surprise. Claressa took a slow step closer, expression steady, purposeful. For a moment, Remy wasn't sure whether to brace herself or let her shoulders finally drop. Claressa's voice was warm, but strong enough to silence the room. "You've inspired fighters like me," she said. "Maybe not with gloves, but with grit, with staying power, with the way you refuse to let the world decide your story." The compliment hit Remy harder than she expected. She'd always seen herself as a survivor, not an inspiration. Survivors don't feel inspiring. They feel tired. Claressa reached into a small velvet case and pulled out a pair of custom-designed gloves, gold-trimmed, embroidered with Remy's name, worded with one phrase, "Unbreakable women stand together." The crowd inhaled sharply. Remy's eyes widened. What is this?" she whispered, her voice cracking. Papoose's smile softened. "It's not the surprise," he said. "It's just the beginning." The tension in the room thickened, the kind that pulls at the ribs and demands silence. Remy felt something stir inside her, something she hadn't let surface in months. Fear mixed with hope. Claressa continued, "You've always fought battles people couldn't see. Those are the hardest ones." She paused, letting the weight settle. "Tonight we want to fight one with you." Remy's breath hitched. Papoose took her hands. His were warm and steady. Hers were trembling. "You thought you were alone in the things you've been carrying," he said softly. "But you're not. We see it, we feel it. And we're here." Remy shook her head slightly, eyes burning. Why are you doing this?" Claressa exchanged a glance with Papoose, a silent agreement between warriors of different worlds. "Because strength shouldn't isolate you," Claressa said. "It should surround you." Then Papoose stepped aside, revealing something behind him, something she hadn't noticed in the dim lighting. A wall of handwritten messages, dozens of them, from fans, from loved ones, from women who had survived battles harder than hers. Mothers, daughters, fighters, dreamers. Some messages were shaky, some bold, some covered in teardrops. all thanking her, all telling her she mattered, all telling her she changed them. The crowd fell into complete stillness. Remy covered her mouth with both hands as the tears finally broke free, sharp, unstoppable, cleansing. Years of pressure, expectation, struggle, and survival all collapsed into a single moment of undeniable humanity. She had spent her life standing tall. Now she felt safe enough to fall into someone's arms. Papoose held her as she cried, his voice a whisper at her ear. "Baby, we wanted you to feel what you've given everyone else. Hope, love, protection, a chance to breathe." But not everyone in the room understood. A murmur arose from a corner, someone questioning whether a public emotional display was a sign of weakness or vulnerability. For a brief moment, a moral tension settled over the gathering. Should strength always be loud? Should pain always be hidden? Claressa turned toward the voices, chin lifted, presence commanding. "Strength isn't about pretending you're invincible," she said. "It's about letting the right people stand beside you. If you think tears make someone weak, then you've never fought anything worth winning." Silence slammed down. Then applause erupted, sharp, united, echoing with something like truth. Remy looked up through her tears, and for the first time in months, she didn't feel alone. She stood slowly, still shaking but standing. "Thank you," she whispered to the room. "All of you. You don't know what this means." But Papoose wasn't finished. He nodded toward Claressa, and together they stepped aside, revealing one last gift, a small, framed photo of Remy as a young girl, the one who used to dream without fear, who believed her voice mattered, who hadn't yet learned the world's cruelty. The image had been restored, recolored, brought back to life. Remy reached for it with trembling fingers. "That," Papoose said gently, "is who we're celebrating today, the girl who never gave up, and the woman who honors her every day." The room fell into emotional stillness, the kind that warms, the air from the inside out. And in that stillness, Remy felt it. A quiet return of something she thought she lost long ago. Courage, self-worth, belonging. The applause rose again, louder, fuller, like a tide pulling her back to shore. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. And in the glow of that birthday night, Remy finally understood that the battles she fought in silence were never meant to be carried alone.